Hello all, old geek, and I'm having another look at Carcass Crawler, um, because I feel like it, and this is Carcass Crawler issue 0. This is the one that was supplied to people who backed the OSE Kickstarter, and I did make a little mistake in my previous video. It's not a free magazine, Carcass Crawler. It's $750 from one website in PDF form, and there's another website I found that does it for $10 for a print copy, but you get a free PDF with the print copy. That actually makes things worse because I didn't think Carcass Crawler 1 was very good. I thought it was it's mediocre for something that was free. Anyway, this one was free if you bought or if you backed the OSE Kickstarter. Let's have a little look. See if this one was any better. See what was in it. So there we go. Nice bit of art on the cover. It looks quite pleasing. It's old school in the sense that you've got undead rising in the background, and it's a Kopesh, I believe that type of sword is. So this is an ancient Egyptian feel with this character. Sarcophagus, mummies, yeah, ancient Egyptian feel. I wonder if there's anything ancient Egyptian about the contents. So let's have a look and see what's in it. There's the credits. So we've got table of contents, classes, races, expanded equipment. I don't see anything Egyptian in any of those, but let's move through. Let's move through. I love this old school art here. This Mushroom Man, myconid in AD&D and subsequent versions, and what looks like a Mongol man of some sort. I don't think we're meant to call them that anymore. Okay, good, nice piece of old school art though. Really do like that. Welcome to this special inaugural issue of Carcass Crawler, the official old school essential zine. They're using the term zine again. It's a magazine or a fanzine. You don't want to listen to grumpy old pedant chuntering on about terminology, but I really don't like the shortening to zine. Blah de blah de blah. This issue is available exclusively to backers of the Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy Kickstarter, August to September 2020. I didn't know anything about it. I want to thank my my YouTube follower who did send me this. I'd have probably backed it if I'd known about it. But there again, August, September 2020 was a time when I didn't have a lot of money. So probably couldn't have backed it. Right, let's have a little look. Let's see what's in this issue. 8 new character classes for all fantasy games. The Arcane Bard, the Beastmaster, the Changeling, Chaos Knight, the Mage, the Mutoid, the Mycelian, and the Warden. Fantasy races. 3 new character races. The Changeling, the Mutoid, and the Mycelian. Okay, so you've got 3 of those classes are races, because you have racers class in various forms of this. Expanded equipment. Okay. So I'm guessing this is probably equipment that you would have seen in the E part of BECME or the X part of BX. Very probably, because the basic fantasy version of this stuck very closely to the basic list from what I saw. This is spiel about too many classes. Yeah, this is exactly the same as we saw at the start of Carcass Crawler 1. And I completely agree that you can have too many classes, and that the classes that are allowable in a campaign should depend on the tone of the setting and whatever the DM chooses to fit. And it's perfectly fine to say, no, you can't have that, or yes, you can have that. It's all down to making a setting feel cohesive. And yes, you can play a kitchen sink if you want, but I do think there are far too many kitchen sink games about at the moment. They don't appeal to me, but they obviously appeal to some people. So play what you want to play. Enjoy what you enjoy. Okay, the Arcane Bard. A druidic bard unique to first edition rules. Yes, it does say it evolved into a sort of jack of all trades with a smattering of the abilities of fighters, magic users and thieves. The Arcane Bard in this class is presented as an alternative version of the class specifically inspired by the 1989 Advanced Second Edition rules. Right, okay. AD&D 2E bards were pretty hopeless. They felt like such a good idea, but in practice, they were difficult. They were very underpowered. I like the tone of them though. Just wish they'd been handled a little bit better. Beastmaster, okay, a warrior who can tame and befriend wild animals. Changeling, essentially a doppelganger by the looks of things. Yep, doppelganger, yep. Chaos Knight is a counterpart of the Paladin. A good piece of artwork there, which looks like a Chaos Knight. Splendid. Mage. Hang on, this is what we saw in Carcass Crawler 1. Are they just picking and choosing bits from this Carcass Crawler 0 to put in Carcass Crawler 1, 2 and 3? If they are, I will be very, very disappointed. Because Carcass Crawler 1 was already quite poor. The mage was one of the better bits in it. And if that's just been ripped from Carcass Crawler 0, okay, you couldn't buy this. This was just with a Kickstarter. Then that's a little bit dodgy, in my opinion. Mutoids. A demi-human race whose members have mismatched body. A mongrel man. Mycelian. Demi-human race of fungal humanoids. Myconid. That picture up here? That's these two races, isn't it? Mycelian and mutoid. Okay, right. I get you. Warden. The ranger class is a warrior whose connection with nature grants him access to druidic magic at higher levels. Okay. The Warden that's presented in this issue is just that, a ranger who does not gain access to spells. So it is basically a wilderness fighter. Good. Nothing wrong with that. As long as you're playing a good exploration-based wilderness campaign, that can be an extremely useful class. Right, the Arcane Bard. Prime requisites charisma and dexterity. Hit dice 1d6. Needs 9 intelligence. Same armor restrictions. Anti-charm ability. That the regular bard in the Advanced Fantasy has that. Hang on. Is this pretty much the bard from Advanced Fantasy? Let me just have a little look at the differences. Here we go. Oh, prime requisites are different. Anti-charm is the same. Arcane magic. Ah, right, yes. The Advanced Fantasy Bard has divine magic, and this has arcane magic. Yeah, that's why it's called an Arcane Bard. Silly geek. Silly geek. It has some basic thief skills, which the Bard in Advanced Fantasy does not have. So, yeah, I'm getting the differences now. Maybe I should read on and not make assumptions. So, yes, this is the second edition Bard, which, to be honest, I think, right, in second edition AD&D, fighters got, by default, got weapon specialization, things like that. You could have specialist mages, you could have specialist priests. Thieves became more flexible than in first edition, because you had a pool of points that you could spend. And yes, bards could spend their pool of points, but they felt underwhelming compared to how the classes had all been reworked. And yes, second edition is I'd say it's actually probably more difficult than first edition, because rules as written, the XP progression is that little bit slower, because by default you don't get gold XP for gold. It's for various actions you carry as you perform as a character, and they, in my experience, they tend to lead to slower leveling. A lot of armor types were more expensive, thus your characters tended to start off weaker. And even though we didn't use it, we always used 4d6 rearrange, the default stat generation method in second edition AD&D should be according to the book, is 3d6 in order, which leads to weaker characters. But I think this Arcane Bard, as per the second edition AD&D, actually is absolutely fine when put in a basic D&D scenario, where you've got lower powered thieves with fewer hit points, where fighters have a D8 hit points instead of a D10. Those sort of things. And I think that's absolutely fine. I think that's a good idea. And I can say now that I like it. And I like the simplicity of a 2-in-6 lore. I like the... You don't got to worry about assigning points. Read languages is at a good level to begin with. Pickpockets just chunt us up slowly to begin with, and then it speeds up later levels. Okay, that's fine. Absolutely fine. I don't mind that. I think that could be a good addition to the game. Alright, let's have a look at the Beastmaster. Okay, it's a D6 hit point class with strength and wisdom as prime requisites, no requirements. Okay. It's all about the animal companion. Must approach the animal in a peaceful manner. The referee makes a reaction roll. If the result is 8 or greater, the animal becomes the Beastmaster's companion. That's fine. Yep. Types of animals. Both wild and domestic animals may be companions. Giant or magical animals may be companions at the referee's discretion. I'd probably allow that at higher levels. Maximum companions may have up to 1 animal companion per experience level. And the total hit dice of companions may not exceed the character's experience level. So, at first level, you're looking at things like a dog. Yep. Second level, wolf. Just about fits in there. Third level, you're looking at maybe some of the big cats. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If an animal companion dies or is dismissed, the Beastmaster may attempt to forge a connection with a new animal. Once a connection is successfully established, the animal companion will follow the Beastmaster everywhere. It obeys basic commands from the Beastmaster and will fight to defend the Beastmaster, never checking morale. That's powerful. That's very powerful. And especially useful for groups where the players refuse to hire henchmen. Clairvoyance. It acts pretty much like a familiar. Yeah, that's fine. And Beastmasters are limited in the types of armor they can use. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with this. Moderate to brisk XP progression. Moderate saving throws. They can identify tracks. They get a bonus to reaction rolls made when interacting with animals, in addition to the charisma modifier. Speak with animals. Animal empathy. Yep. I think that's quite a decent class. That feels quite strong. Maybe not to begin with, and you've got to get that good roll to get your first animal, which obviously there may be a risk involved there, but it seems quite strong. But I don't dislike it. Changeling. Changelings are magical demi-humans that possess powers of deception and shape-stealing. In natural form, a changeling appears to be a normal human. So, essentially, it's a player character doppelganger. Nah. Nah, 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 nah. Nah. Don't want it. I really don't want it. Unless you're playing an evil campaign. I think it could be a lot of fun in an evil campaign. Apart from that, no. Yeah, I'm not going to read through it all. Maybe useful for a DM to create doppelganger-style NPCs with character levels, perhaps. That's actually quite good. Quite like that. Slow level progression. I can understand why. I can understand why. But let's move on. Chaos Knight. The anti-paladin. Is it basically a paladin in reverse? Command undead. Divine magic. Yeah, you'd be using reversed spells most of the time, I'd have thought. Darkness. Cause wounds. Blindness. Infernal steed. It's like a nightmare. If the steed dies, another may not be summoned for 10 years. But it's pretty cool. Knight, an evil knight on a nightmare. I know it's an old trope, but yes. Life drain. Once per day, a Chaos Knight can make a life-draining melee attack. If the attack hits, the target loses 2 hit points per level of the Chaos Knight, in addition to normal damage. The Chaos Knight is healed of damage equal to the hit points drained. Okay, that's not overpowered. That's not overpowered. Once per day, it's the opposite of lay on hands, and you've got to hit with a melee attack. And it only heals you. That's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Chaos Knights are immune to all disease. Vow of bondage. This is a child-friendly video. Chaos Knight may only keep 1 suit of magical armor, 1 magical shield, 1 magical melee weapon. Spend at least, paladin stuff. Commanding as per turning undead from level 3. That's fine. They get spells at high levels. They're decent saving throws. Good hit dice. And they require a solid chunk of XP to gain levels. Yeah, I'm fine with the Chaos Knight. Go well in an evil campaign. With the Changeling. Mage. I'm not going to read it because I can guarantee you it's almost exactly, or if not exactly, the same as in Carcass Crawler 1. I might have tweaked some skills, perhaps, but no. Mutoid. So this was the mongrel man, demi-humans with mismatched body parts of many different creatures, reptiles, crustaceans, birds and mammals. It's a mongrel man. One of my favourite parts of any module is the mongrel man base in I1, Dwellers of the Forbidden City. I think that's really nicely done. That's the module, I believe, where they were introduced. I think that's the first time we saw them. We got them in A2 as well. Which came first? Were they mongrel men in A2? There was something very similar. God, my mind's getting fuzzy in my old age. But I love that mongrel men base in I1 because it provides a slight comedic relief, but they are useful allies, potential allies within the city, but it's not without its drawbacks for the party. And it's the sort of thing where initially friendly, trickstery sort of race that can turn nasty if they're mistreated. It's a good part of that module. So basically, they are fighter thieves. Fighter thieves. By the looks of things, they can use one-handed weapons, missile weapons, leather armor, shields. They've got backstabbing ability, mimicry ability. Good. Move silently, pickpockets. A fighter thief hybrid. but a mongrel man, then of course he's going to be shunned by society. Yeah, mutoids are often shunned by other species and live in ruins or in hidden lairs within large settlements. It'd be difficult having one of these in a traditional campaign. But like our goblin game in Shadow of the Demon Lord, it's working because we're all goblins. If you had a party of all mutoids, that would work. It might get a bit stale after a while, but it's worth it's a bit of fun. Fairly quick level progression, half decent saving throws. Is it? Oh, mutations table. Oh, you roll on the mutations table. You don't pick, you roll. And each thing gives a little bonus. Nothing wrong with that. Sticky tongue. Grab an object up to 15 feet away and pull it to the mouth. Can be used as a melee attack. Bite inflicts 1d3 damage. Yes. Yeah, I quite like them. Not that I'd use them in all campaigns, obviously, because of the difficulty of getting them in the setting, but if you've got an underground setting or a Lost World setting, they'd fit. They would fit. Mycelian. Playable mushroom men. I love mycelians. I think they're a great... I wouldn't say enemy because they shouldn't be enemies because they're peaceful, but they are capable of being very tough enemies. But they make for interesting encounters. Just hippie mushroom men. But they can be quite potent. Well, they've got the... Depending on how their community is set up, because they have this tier system in the community. But they're very... To me, they're interesting creatures, but not as player characters. I wouldn't... I don't perceive them as player characters. In a game in the Underdark, maybe this sort of thing would be good for the DM for NPCs. Maybe a lone one that is away from its colony. But I'm not interested in it in terms of a game class. Maximum level 6 anyway. That's fine. How many player characters get to level 6? They start with excellent saves. They cause natural melee damage, have a natural armor class, good hit points, and require a lot of XP. I'm guessing they're pretty powerful. Well, they can create fungal zombies. Fungus. Spores. Moist spores. Right, this is the Warden. Nice bit of artwork there. Do like that. This is the nature warrior with no spells. Reduced chance to be surprised. Can't use plate mail, that's fine. Foraging and hunting. Limited possessions. Pursuit. Surprise attack. All pretty much what you would expect. Good hit points, D8. Yeah. Standard fighter level progression, because it doesn't feel like this particularly powerful class. It seems about right. There's the tracking modifiers, tracking chance of success, steady climb as it goes up with the modifiers. It seems like a sensible idea. Not overpowered, useful in an outdoor setting, and again, useful for a DM for NPC purposes. Right, let's see what's next. Okay. This is where they redo the races. So if you're not using races class. Let's see what limitations they put on these races then. The Changeling. That's how I wouldn't allow a Changeling as a player character. Ability modifiers -1 con, +1 charisma. Assassin, illusionist, and thief. Yeah, it fits. Shape stealing is pretty much all they do. Again, worth it for probably very interesting for an evil game, but creating NPCs very useful. Don't think that artwork's particularly good this time. Mutoids. Okay. thieves, illusionists, assassin, cleric, fighter. These are fighter, thief. They're the two highest. That's fine. With mutations, that's basically it. All the other powers are lost, but there again, with the thief class being the likely class there, and the fighter thief being the likely combination, if you do allow multi-classing, it fits that whole sort of thief, fighter thief style of the default mutoid in the racers class. Fine. Again, I think they'd be interesting in a short-term campaign where the whole party are mutoids. I like that idea. Mycelian, limited level 6 as a fighter. Why fighter? Why not cleric or druid as the highest? Because they're hippies. Druid should be the highest. They've got the fungal spores still. Telepathic communication, infravision. Oh, I didn't see this before. Rest and sustenance. They don't eat or sleep in the normal sense, but they must be in contact with moist earth. Yeah, fine. Draw nutrients from the earth. Light sensitivity. That's with the pluses and minuses on there. I don't like the idea of them being a playable race, but it seems like they have balanced it out okay. Let's see what we've got here. Expanded equipment. Extra stuff. Good. Not wrong with that. It's all helpful. Player characters, they will always ask for things that aren't on the list. In fact, my group I was playing with on Saturday, we were talking about getting blankets. And there it is. Bedroll. 2 gold pieces. We didn't think to look in here. We were in a bit of it didn't really matter. We weren't staying out overnight. But it's good. Yeah, nothing wrong with this at all. Always a good idea. Always a good idea. Add more equipment, more stuff. Of course, a DM can always make it up, but all this gives you a good idea of what can be expected. Equipment descriptions. What is that artwork? What is that artwork? That is absolutely abysmal. Equipment descriptions. Yes. You should always, don't assume everyone knows what equipment does. This was lacking in earlier versions of D&D. All too often we didn't get descriptions of what things were. So yeah, good. That's better artwork. Yeah, much better. Look, much better than the previous ones. That's fine. I like that. Nice and bold. And there's the open game license at the end. The OGL. And a nice piece of artwork to finish. Intellect Devourer. Jumping on what appears to be... Is he a halfling? He hasn't got hairy feet. Or is it just a rotund human? Podgy human? No, it really can't be a halfling. It looks like he's using a wand. I guess it's a podgy human. Having about to have his intellect devoured. Good. Carcass Crawler 0. Much better than Carcass Crawler 1. Much better. Most of the stuff in there is useful. I'm a little bit put out by the fact that they put that mage class in Carcass Crawler 1, as in here. I think that's a bit cheap. But even those races that I would not allow to be played, they are very, very helpful for DMs when it comes to putting together other potential races and maybe creating NPCs for relevant campaigns, especially ones that go underground, where you will encounter mutant races and you will have individuals within those races that have risen the ranks and have gained skills associated with classes. So I like that. I really like that. And I think the classes they've added in here are generally pretty good. The Arcane Bard, as I said, didn't really work in 2nd edition AD&D, but because of the lowering of the power of the characters in other classes in relation to each other, I think would work absolutely fine in OSE. The Mage was something I don't mind that from Carcass Crawler 1. I thought it was one of the better parts of that magazine. And the Warden, if you've got a suitable campaign where that Warden has a chance to shine, thus outdoors, great. Absolutely fine. The Chaos Knight as well. Evil campaign only, really, but again, interesting. Nice to see. I rather like that edition. And if I'd have backed the Kickstarter and I'd have seen this, I'd have been champing at the bit for Carcass Crawler 1, and I'd have been disappointed. Let's hope Carcass Crawler 2 manages to improve on Carcass Crawler 1, because Carcass Crawler 0 shows that they know how to put together a decent little add-on magazine, fanzine. It's a magazine, it's done by the creators of the game, it's not a fanzine. They know how to create that, clearly. So this gives me hope. Anyway, I've been the Old Geek. Thanks for watching. See ya.